I just researched the absolute best ways to make money while homesteading or living off-grid. Yeah, you heard that right. I just spent hours on end researching different side hustles to help you start your homestead journey, and I broke them all down into this video so you don't have to. Also, stay to the end. I put together 5 extra unique side hustles that are worth looking at. Let's do this. Number 1, renting out farm equipment. So farm equipment can be super expensive. So to produce some extra income and help with that, you can just rent it out to neighboring farmers, other people online that would much rather just rent it for a weekend than to buy it themselves. And that can just be used when you're not using it, so it's still producing you money. Number 2, off-farm employment. It's very common to maintain a traditional 9-to-5 job on the outside world. Assuming you can keep some kind of balance between that and your day-to-day maintenance of your homestead. This one is kind of an obvious one, but it shouldn't be overlooked if you can find something that is close to headquarters, pays the bills, and like I said, gives you the allowance to maintain both and balance your life. Number 3, selling produce. So this is one that I'm gonna bet that you're already gonna be doing anyway, living on homestead and kind of living off grid. But if you could put together a plan on not only what it's gonna take to make enough for you and your family, what you're trying to accomplish, but enough to have a side hustle to sell it to local farmers markets, to local groceries, and then local neighbors, things like that, this can be an excellent way to make extra money on doing something that you're already doing in the first place. Number 4, raising livestock. So this one has so many different options depending on how you want to approach it. Obviously where you live, what you have available is going to play into this as well. But you have options like goats, chickens, pigs, horses, cows, turkeys, sheep. I mean, the list goes on forever, right? So for the sake of time, I'm going to stick with cows, chickens, and bees. Alright, so you decide to raise cattle. The first and obvious one is selling beef, but let's expand on this a little. You could also sell the raw milk. You could make cheese and butter. You could sell the manure to farmers for their gardens. Another one you could do is rent out the cattle to graze on vacant lots to maintain them. And don't forget, there's a whole business in breeding cattle that's an option as well. Now let's jump over to chickens. The obvious one is selling eggs, especially nowadays, they ain't cheap. But another thing you could do is raise meat chickens, which are specifically raised because they produce more meat on them. And don't forget, on a year-to-year basis, you could raise baby chicks and sell them individually in packs. You go to your local farmer store, they always have chicks on display, and there's always people there looking and buying. Then lastly, we got bees. I mean, maintaining a beehive is pretty low maintenance compared to the others we've talked about, but it's an art in its own right, trust me. But it would be a great way, a great side hustle, if you will, to sell to your local farmers markets, not only for the taste of honey, but for local allergies. All right, number 5, we're talking about short-term rentals and tourism. So let's jump into the real estate side of things real quick. Having a short-term rental, such as an Airbnb that you're familiar with, would be a great way to produce money on the side that would be low maintenance depending on the setup. If you don't have the financial ability to go too expensive, then go with something simple like a campground parking pad. You could do a tent. I've seen people do RVs, a yurt, or even a shipping container setup. Now, if you have a little more spending money that you could take it one step further, obviously the more unique you can make it, the more it will attract people for years to come. For example, this lady took a shipping container, I believe, and made it a potato as a home that you can stay in on Airbnb. She has done this with a couple other spots she has that are unique, but a prime example of what we're talking about. But again, short-term rentals, whether it's on the small end or high end to cost, can be a great addition to your homestead. Number 6, a farm experience. So kind of continuing from the last topic of tourism, and this could just be an extension of the short-term rental, if you will, but having a farm experience would be such a cool thing for those that have thought about doing this but just don't know where to start. Open your homestead up to farm tours. Let them live a day in the life of what you do, from the early morning chores to farming to taking care of the animals to just maintaining the land. This could be a pretty low risk way to dip their feet into this experience, and hey, you might just inspire the next homesteader to do it themselves. Number 7, teaching and educating. So people are always wanting to learn something that will be valuable, especially in this journey, just like you clicking on this video. So being able to teach farm-based classes or offer consulting services on homesteading topics could be such a valuable way to create some extra cash and help people at the same time. Start with what you know, whether that's teaching on the basics of gardening. It might be how to raise and butcher your own food. It could be more on the side of coaching and helping people live more simple, like teaching them how to transition from the busy city life to the little more slow-paced farm life. There's really no ceiling on how many options this one can be, so get creative with it. Like they say, if you build it, they will come, right? So find something that you either know or want to know and learn how to teach it. Number 8, hosting different events. So I recently went to a friend's wedding that was located on someone's local farm. They had the barn where dinner was at, they had a pond where the ceremony was by. Just like the farm experience we talked about earlier, the wedding had a farm-based theme to it, and the place was rented out for the day. Now, one thing that you could do if you had this setup is not only could you rent out the space, but you could have the chairs, the tables, maybe some extra add-ons for an extra price as well when it comes to a wedding setup. Now this goes for a conference, this could go for parties or even a family reunion. Having this space where people can come to and gather, that is also your space, but another great way to build extra money. Number 9, arts and crafts. So for this one, you can take it again a few different ways. If you're more artistic, you could make your own jewelry or do some kind of paintings and sell them online or at your local shops. You could take this more the organic route and sell organic soaps and lotions or even some natural cleaning supplies. And don't forget making your own candles as well. If you're more the creative type, explore this one. This could be a fun hobby that you turn into a real business and has so many different options. Number 10 on our list is going to be renting out your land. This one's pretty self-explanatory, but I know a few people that rent out unused space on their land for cattle grazing, for boat and RV storage, or even hunting during the hunting seasons. Remember, you don't need hundreds of acres to do this necessarily. If you have even a single space for an RV on the side of your house, you could charge a monthly fee for that RV, and hey, that could pay for your gas for the month, and that's a win in my book. Number 11, flower farming. Have you ever seen those fields of just acres on acres of flowers on the side of the road before? You could start a flower business where you grow and sell flowers as a business. Pretty cool, right? You could go as simple as selling cut flowers, floral arrangements, and even bouquets at your local farmer's market, or you could sell to local and non-local florists, hotels, restaurants, and floral designers. If flowers are your game, this may be your lane. Number 12, microgreens. Now, I was going to add this one to number 3, but I felt it deserved its own category. Microgreens have become super popular, and there's a good reason why. They're super cheap and easy to grow. Whether you live on a 1,000-acre farm or a 200 square feet apartment in New York, you can grow microgreens. If you build out a growing setup big enough that you can start selling to local farmer markets, restaurants, and grocery stores, they're super healthy food and they're always in demand and can be quite lucrative if you do this right. So check it out. Number 13, horseback riding and horseboarding. Another pretty self-explanatory one, but if you're into horses, doing some kind of horseback ride experience could be a super fun way to make some side money. Teaching people the basics of riding, having them help with feeding and washing the horses would be quite the memorable experience for those who've never been around them. Another option is to build a horse stable where people can come and board their horses for a monthly fee. So that way you can store the horses, make money, and have them on your property, which is always a bonus. Number 14, being a hunting, hiking, or fishing guide. Now this one is going to be a little dependent on location for the most part, but typically anywhere that you're getting away to build a homestead, there are going to be some options to do these things to one degree or another. So knowing the best and secret hiking spots where you're at could be something that you do and take people to and teach them about the history of the land at the same time. You could also specialize in hunting or fishing and take people where they pay big bucks, no pun intended, to catch that trophy trout or shoot that record elk. Number 15, social media. This is one you've probably already considered, and rightfully so. This one has become such a huge and lucrative way to make money while living the homestead lifestyle, but by no means is it the easiest. I will say though, people love watching the journey of someone like you that has the bravery to take the leap of faith and live the way they want to live. So whether that's documenting a daily vlog of a day in the life of your homestead, it could be using Amazon affiliate links to sell products or even create your own merch to sell on Etsy. There are hundreds of ways to approach social media as an extra way to make money. And like I promised, I have 5 unique ideas that most will never think about, so let's just go through these real quick for you. Number 1, Patreon or OnlyFans. Number 2, compost and soil. Number 3, selling firewood. Number 4, saving seeds and reselling them. Number 5, selling a specialty crop. So this is the thing, there are hundreds and hundreds of ways to make money while living off grid. The key is to find something that you either know, want to learn, or have the ability to do with the resources you have, and then do it. Because most won't. Some of these are easier than others, obviously, but let's be real, you aren't looking to live a self-sustaining life because it's easy. So get after it.